Welcome to Team Leadership Radio. That's TEEM, Train, Equip, Empower, and Mobilize Leadership. I'm your host, Dr. Cecilia Martin, and joining me tonight is Mr. Dorian Cockrell. Dorian is the Vice President and Central Program Officer in Global Philanthropy with JPMorgan Chase. He sets the strategic direction and oversees Chase's philanthropic investments in Houston, Central Texas, and Oklahoma markets. Before joining JPMorgan, he was the Workforce Operations Manager for the Houston-Galveston Area Council, providing strategic planning for the 13-county region. He also worked at United Way of Greater Houston as Senior Manager for Workforce Development. During his time at United Way, he led United Way's Thrive program to help hard-working families improve their incomes, build savings, and acquire assets to secure a better future. Dorian serves on several statewide education and workforce advisory councils in Texas, and he's always advancing workforce and racial equity. Hey, Dorian, welcome.
Hey. Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, I am so glad that you took the time. I know you're a very busy man. Thank you for taking the time to join us on Team Leadership Radio. I'm going to get into some of your accomplishments because you have certainly done a lot at such a young age, relatively young age. You're over 40 now, right?
I just crossed that finish line. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because a few years back, you were part of the prestigious Houston Business Journal 40 Under 40 Honoree and honored by the American Leadership Forum. What was that like for you?
It was fantastic to, one, be able to set the bar for my peers in that time period and just really give them an understand that, man, we could do it. We could do it just like everybody else. It's not about age. It's not about who says you're too young to be one of the best professionals in your city. For me, it was just about having that tenacity to say, okay, I am one of the top leaders in the city. I'm able to accomplish some things at a young age that I think we always try to strive for and get. So that's my goal.
Absolutely. So is it safe to say that you were born and raised in Houston, Texas, or were you born and raised in a different part of Texas?
No, born and raised Houston, Texas, born and raised on the south side of Houston. Ironically, born in Jefferson Davis Hospital, which would tell you a little bit about the South and Houston and the transformation that we have actually made here in the city. And so I've lived in several parts of Houston on the south side, many of the underserved areas in Houston. So that's where really a lot of my passion comes from.
I guess for listeners, the south side of Houston is like saying you were raised on the south side of Chicago.
Exactly. South side of Chicago, south side of any major
any metropolitan.
Whatever. I was raised right off of Martin Luther King, on the south side. So I'm completely aware of, the opportunities that have been taken away from our community, as well as, the ones that we need to get back to succeed and get that prosperity.
Sure, absolutely. So what was life like growing up as a child? Were you very studious? Were you the one designated most likely to succeed? It's a rough area to grow up in. So what were you like as a child?
Man, I wasn't likely to succeed nothing. It was just a matter of having fun, when I was a kid. I wanted to hang out with my older cousins. I wanted to run around in the streets. I wanted to, be like cats that I saw. And so there's a true sentiment behind, just you have to see your opportunities, and you can go only as far as your exposure, allows you at some points. And so I think that in my mind, I just wanted to just be like a local kid, stay around here in Houston, just hang around the block, chill, give me a good, stable job, stay at it, 30 years and retire and call it a day. So, I mean, there was no ambition to be highly successful. I wasn't walking around thinking to myself, hey, I want to be, this corporate leader in a, blue chip, organization or
Mm.
achieve any of the accomplishments that I've been blessed to accomplish. It was really just about, kicking it, um, not getting in too much trouble, and really just, for real, and really just um, kind of just keep my nose clean. So I was
Well, what is
that kid.
Well, I gotta know then, what inspired you to go to college? I mean, you have two degrees. You did I think your master's in public administration at in Texas as well.
Yeah,
So,
University of Texas at Arlington.
University of
Okay.
Texas, Arlington, UT. Oh
Yeah,
my, is
no,
that
go
where
man.
Matthew McConaughey is?
No, he's a Longhorn, but I give him a little slack, give him a little slack.
Okay, okay.
Go Mavs.
So what inspired you to actually go to college and get on this pathway that you really hadn't predicted or foreseen as a child or aspired necessarily? What finally motivated you, or was maybe the deciding factor in your life to go to college and get on this path?
Yeah, it was honestly sports. I ran track in high school, and I saw
Mm.
a lot of my buddies, looking like they was going to school, and I was like, damn, everybody, talking about going to school, and let me figure out, if I can even go myself, and
Okay.
I actually, wrote some, universities, wrote some coaches. I wouldn't like to highly recruit a kid coming out of high school, so I actually had to, write coaches and let them know, hey, I'll be a great, athlete and just really push myself out there, past my, own comfort level. Because, I was just watching everybody was going to school and everybody was talking about, hey, we leaving, town. And, I honestly, I was like, I don't want to, get left here in the hood because, I know it wouldn't have been
Mm.
nothing but, hood things happening. And so that was really my motivation. I'd like to tell people, I ran my way out the hood, because
Wow.
because of the fact, but then once I got to college and saw the diversity of, University of Texas at Arlington and the students and just met lifelong friends, from my
Mhm.
very first day of being there, and even till now, it just really changed my whole trajectory.
You know, I think this is going to be inspiring for so many young men like yourself who, didn't see it at first. They definitely wasn't trying for it, but there was something in you that clicked. And you're being really modest right now. I love hearing the backdrop of the story. It never gets old for me. Where you were raised, that you ran track, and as you said, you had to write colleges to see if you could get in.
Right.
Much like me, I graduated from high school with I think it was a 1.9 if you rounded it up,
Yeah.
because, I was horrible, horrible, horrible in high school. And people see individuals like us today, but they have no idea,
Oh yeah.
of the real backdrop of the story. And you're being modest because I know at some point you even worked in DC. You went on to do some inspiring things. What would you say was the key um, crux, as you say, that sort of springboarded you into this arena of leadership? If you can think about it. Uh,
Yeah, it was grad school. I
mm-hmm,
was able to complete my master's program with a 4.0 GPA,
mm-hmm,
which opened up doors for me to become Archer Graduate Fellow with the University of Texas System Archer program. And so I went to Washington, D.C., and I did my Archer Graduate Fellowship with the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, where I actually at that time had to hand write and dictate testimonies and
Mm.
briefings and really what happened on the Hill and send it out to our member universities, across the country. And so that was a role that positioned me to really understand, how government worked. I
Mhm.
was able to see the inner workings of, how policy is made, really be around
Mhm.
Congress members, regardless of party. I was able to still, learn and see how, government moves and operates, and the leaders that go to Washington, D.C., and the people that actually uh, change the rules, for the better. And
Mhm.
so being in that environment allowed me to, look at my own leadership skills and say, hey, well, what type of, Texas leader, do I want to become, or what type of even, national or, world stage, leader could I be? And uh,
Mhm.
I was, fortunately at that time, it was in 2013, selected by one of the professors at the University of Texas System, the undergraduate program, to give Dr. King's March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom 50th anniversary speech at Lincoln Memorial,
Wow.
down in the grounds of Resurrection City,
Wow.
where it happened. And so, that was another significant moment for my life personally, because I was able to not only, be selected from amongst my peers to give that, talk, but also, again, to look at myself as a leader amongst leaders to say, hey, you can be from, the south side of Houston, literally single parent household,
Mhm.
raised by my grandma, my mama, my aunties, my neighbors, my coaches, and,
Yeah, yeah, I know the
so
village.
everybody
You
else
were
got
raised
that
by the
same
village people.
story. Yeah, exactly.
Raised by the village people.
It gets to that point where, you realize you're in a position where life says you're not supposed to be, and you're still there. So it really tells me that the odds are false, that they put against you.
Yeah,
And I don't buy into the rhetoric of, just because where you came from, that's just where you have to stay. So those are just a couple of moments in my life that really um, put me in a position to see myself differently, regardless of, the circumstance I was in.
exactly. I mean, when you're in it, especially as a young person, it's definitely hard to see the forest for the trees, but because you're in it.
Yeah,
But I want so many people to know that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who your parents are. At some point, you really can make the decision that you want better, you want to do better, and that you can achieve better. I
yeah.
mean, you just have to you have to at some point make the decision to do.
Yeah. I
Like you
mean,
said,
for me, I got mad. I got mad enough at my situation. I got mad enough at my circumstance and was like, I'm through, right? I'm
Mhm.
tired of not, having money in the bank for me to, buy what I want from the store. I'm not talking about like shoes and, and clothes. I'm talking about, I want that
Mhm.
T-bone steak that costs $27. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If
Right.
I don't grind, what I'm saying, I can't get it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get the ground beef that costs $4.99. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it got, to me, I was just like, man, look, I'm through with this. And so I got mad, and it wasn't anything in my mind that was going to stop me, because I wasn't worried about the storm. I became the storm.
Mm.
So after that, it was just like,
Ooh.
I'm about to rain now. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just, a boldness about the approach of everything that I take, then and now. So
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I'm writing this down. I wasn't worried about the storm. I was the storm.
I mean, you
That's
know.
quotable. All right. I'm gonna definitely give you credit for it. I love it. And it's so funny you talk about going from, so you've gone from, like you said, I'm mad, I want to be able to just have a decent quality of life, affording just a steak if I want it. And
Right.
so you go from there to now vice president and central program officer in global philanthropy for JPMorgan Chase.
Yeah.
My goodness,
Yeah.
my goodness. Tell us more about what you do in that role because it sounds so massive.
I'm part of a fantastic corporate responsibility team. And within that corporate responsibility team lies Global Philanthropy, where I'm part of a central region of fantastic leaders in various cities, with a fantastic leader in Dallas and Chicago. And my responsibility is to lead our philanthropic investments here in Houston, Central Texas, and Oklahoma to set the strategic direction for those investments, looking at our four pillars of impact that we invest in: workforce development, small business, financial health, and housing, and how we look into neighborhoods that have been underestimated, underserved, really forgotten, that a
Mm,
wealth of talent lies, in these neighborhoods, and investing in nonprofit organizations that's going into these communities that's doing real work. And so we also take a race equity lens to make sure that we are lifting up leaders of color to
mhm,
do this work and scale this work. So um, they are able to not only create jobs, within their own organizations, but also help individuals in the community have better futures and live better lives. And so I'm honored and I'm privileged to be able to say I'm at the best financial institution in the world, in my opinion, regardless of what anybody says.
mhm.
Um, and I lead some of the best projects in the U.S. market. In my opinion, I have Tulsa, so I have our
Okay.
Greenwood project and Reviving Black Wall Street project, and looking at how we're
Wow.
restoring small business in that area. I have Oklahoma City and supporting Northeast Oklahoma City, Deep Deuce, looking at how
Mm,
that area, is growing now from, what happened in the 60s, um, with, folks, making promises that didn't come through, and reviving, those communities. And so I have real projects that are helping people,
mhm.
to close the racial wealth gap and close the income gap. And so, again, I'm proud to be at JPMorgan Chase and leading this effort in my markets, and also being part of a fantastic team, doing the same thing.
Well, when you talk about particularly, so I understand the four pillars of workforce, small business. I think you said health and
Yeah,
housing.
financial health and housing. Yeah,
Financial health. Okay.
yeah.
Financial health and housing. How does closing the racial wealth gap differ from gentrification, particularly when we're talking about housing and rebuilding communities? Because you are dealing with some historically black areas, like you said, those that have been underserved or the community has been disintegrated to some degree for one reason or another.
Right.
How does the projects that Chase supports differ from gentrification?
Well, gentrification is, you have all these businesses coming in and establishing tax rates that individuals that have, lower incomes can't afford, and ultimately, they're pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
And so our programs go in to help those individuals that have those incomes receive the skills to either manage their finances, start a business, to gain capital, or
Mm-hmm.
provide them a skill to get a career that has a good wage, that has career mobility, so they can continue to, make more money. So
Mm-hmm.
gentrification does happen individuals don't have to move out. They can actually afford to pay those, tax increases and um, have money for the future as well. And so, the strategy is also, not just a racial wealth gap, um, but more proximate, just an income
Mm-hmm.
gap. And so our processes don't start all the way, trying to boil the ocean. Some things we just have to just, start with one, step in the water. And so,
Mm-hmm.
for me in, my local market here in Houston, I could speak to, we're focusing in on supporting our complete community neighborhoods here, which are communities that have been established uh, through the migration and I say survival of
Mm-hmm.
slaves stemming from Juneteenth. I want people to remember that Juneteenth happened 1865 in Galveston, Texas, only 30 minutes away from Houston, Texas, and those
Mm-hmm.
freed slaves came up from Galveston all the way up to Houston and established the south side of Houston, Freedmanstown, Fourth Ward, Sunnyside, Acres Homes, Cashmere Gardens. And so these are communities where African Americans predominantly reside currently that have a rich history of
Mm-hmm.
understanding how their legacy land was established, started, and created. So JPMorgan Chase is investing dollars here in Houston, place-based strategy for these communities to support individuals still residing in some of these neighborhoods that were started, as early as the first free slaves from Galveston into Freedmanstown. And so that is what, I'm talking about as far as our investments in making powerful change and impact to combat gentrification that has been happening for far too long.
Do you find that the owners in that community or the citizens that are there, do you find that they are ready for this type of rebuilding, ready for this type of engagement, particularly around financial health? And the reason why I'm asking is because I had a guest on, a former NFL player, and he was talking about how he had put all of these investments into a community, rebuilt it with the same vision that Chase has. Is of course Chase is larger in scale, but he found that the folks who lived there were not quite ready to handle such a shift, even though it was a slow shift because of their financial health. Do you find that folks in these areas, whether it's in Houston or Central Texas or in Oklahoma, are ready for this or not?
Oh, they are definitely ready. And, we take a systems level approach. And so it's not transactional with one organization,
Mm-hmm.
tackling these issues. So we work at, you know, the highest levels, whether it's a workforce board, City of Houston,
Okay.
or county level, our, larger, nonprofit organizations, to really have community conversations
Mm-hmm.
to learn and hear from the people about the needs that they have as we go through developing programming for them. So it's not prescribed coming from,
Mm-hmm.
us to say, hey, this is what you need for you to be wealthy, but we hear from them um, regarding, the transportation issues because, they may need assistance in that area, or they may need other income supports to maintain consistency in going through training, or whatever the case may be, to learn that financial skill, to learn how to uh, gain wise spending habits,
Mm-hmm.
and have a coach to go to, kind of call before you, quit, type of model. And so,
Sure.
um, you know, it's a system of organizations that is doing this work and also making the community aware. Um, and so, I
Mm-hmm.
could say, yes, the people are ready. because the organizations have gone out in the community and spoken to the people. And the people have informed those nonprofit organizations that are right there in those communities what they need. And those nonprofit organizations do a fantastic job in advocating for the community and applying for funding through application processes, whether it's through private, public, or philanthropic dollars to support those individuals.
So they have multiple streams of support, and it sounds like you're burning the candle at both ends. It's not a top down, it is very much an integrated, collaborative approach. So, can you explain to me what does race equity mean in the business world, particularly among entrepreneurs? What does that look like for entrepreneurs nationwide? Because that's a struggle.
Yeah, it is getting a fair shot at accessing capital that
Yeah,
normally only white men have had access to. I mean,
yeah,
it's really opening up those doors, the women included,
yeah,
to have access, white women included, to
yeah,
have access to resources and funding white men have traditionally had to start their small business. And so from that equity lens is, providing business consulting, getting, individual entrepreneurs connected to accelerator programs, pre-accelerator programs, um, maybe, programs supported by community colleges, to really understand the ins and outs on, capital campaign, fundraising, procurement, the things that are, shared maybe at a golf tournament or
yeah.
um,
The
you know,
connections, the
the
the access.
relationships, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of taking those conversations that people would never be part of because they're not, at the birthday party, um, and bringing them into the nonprofit organization for everybody to have access to learn, to get those same opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's really it's so hard for entrepreneurs, and like you said, those of color, women particularly, even veterans. And I've heard a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, they are always lamenting, they don't know where the resources are, they don't know where to start. They find it very hard to get a business loan. I mean, is it really that hard? Or I personally haven't had a business loan for my business, and I hope I never will have to have one. But I'm finding that at some point, it's smart to have one, right?
Yeah,
At
well,
some point, yeah. So, I
it
mean,
depends.
mm-hmm,
You know, um, so there are stages and steps to gaining capital. You can
mm-hmm,
have your, old fashioned family and friends, and so you get a group of individuals and say, we're gonna put some money together, y'all, and we're gonna start this business. And you can,
mm-hmm,
do that old fashioned, capital raising way for individuals. That still works, might I add,
yeah,
make sure you
yeah,
network with the right people and
mm-hmm.
surround yourself with the right. See, this goes back to surrounding yourself with the right people. You're not surrounding yourself with people that can invest in your business. You need to make sure, you find you some friends that can, and I'm not trying to preach or get on nobody's soapbox, but I'm
No,
just saying,
you're right. You need to say
it
it. Talk about
matters.
it.
It matters who you surround yourself by, and if I have, white homeboys that have white homeboys and they can call them and be like, yo, I'm starting this business and,
Mm-hmm,
you know, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And so
mm-hmm.
it is very um, effective to have a network of family and friends that you
That's
can call
right.
on to invest in your idea and your vision. So I just want to put that out there for any listeners. It really does matter who you hang around, like
Mm-hmm.
for real.
It does.
It
It
really
does.
does. It does. But outside of that piece, then you can, get involved with some accelerator programs. They have pre-accelerator programs where you have an idea. You can go to like an incubator, so to speak, where you um, have, business planning sessions on how to create a business plan, how to apply for grant dollars, how to, start your website, how to, get your quality and internal controls in place. And so you have nonprofit programs that offer these um, entrepreneurship and business programs for free in a lot of cases, that individuals can actually learn the ins and outs of, if you need your LLC or whatever the case may be to get started. And oftentimes, if individuals have the persistence and successfully complete these accelerated programs, there is a next step or referral actually into a grant program where I've seen nonprofit organizations provide a $25,000, $50,000 grant for
Mm-hmm.
individuals to start their business so they don't start their business in debt with a loan. You can actually
Mm-hmm.
start your business with $50,000 in capital per se to actually get your business going. And so those are nonprofit accelerator programs, pre-accelerator programs. I would encourage folks to just, look those up online and see in their respective, markets where those community assets, lie. And then you have community development financial institutions such as People Fund or Local Initiative Support Corporation, where you can go to them and go through a program, and they may be able to provide you a small dollar loan
Mm-hmm.
to get your program started and launched from an entrepreneurial um, perspective. And so I think those are the three things that I would recommend
Mm-hmm.
for an entrepreneur to do. I personally would take those steps if I had to, make, any um, recommendation to anyone in my family, hey, how do I start a business? Everything that I just said would be the best way to do it. I would go to a bank after I have my business going.
I was
After
gonna
I,
ask you that. That was
yeah,
my next question. Yeah.
after I have my business going, after I have some revenue coming in, after I'm feeling secure and stable about, my business, and I want to take it to that next level. I want to take it to scale. I want to say, hey, I want to open up a new shop, or I want to move from my food truck and open me a brick and mortar, or you just really want to take it to a higher level, but you've been in business, a
Mm-hmm.
minute, like you
Mm-hmm.
haven't been in business 9 months. You've been in business maybe 3 years. You didn't went through your first year to get it going, second year to figure that thing out, third year you're like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing right now. I'm making money
Mm-hmm.
coming in. Let me see if I can go to the bank, um, and get out a loan, whether it's a line of credit or
Right.
actual capital.
I think that's the biggest misconception. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they have an idea, they may even develop a really good plan, and then they think that they should then walk into a bank and chase and say, "Hey, here's my plan, here's my idea, fund me."
No, you don't
But
want to do that. You don't want to do
right,
that.
that's right.
You don't do that. I mean, if you don't have your business going and you aren't bringing in any revenue for your business, and you're coming in to ask the bank for a loan, then how are you going to afford your loan payments a month if you haven't even gotten your business started or any revenue
Mm-hmm.
coming in? And so, unless you have personal capital to cover those fees and those dues, then you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to want to do that. In my opinion, I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. The statements of my own opinion out of JPMorgan Chase. What I'm saying?
Right, right.
Very clear. This is Dorian Cockrell speaking. I'm not representing JPMorgan Chase from a financial perspective on advice that I'm giving from a
But no,
personal.
I think what you're
Yeah,
saying really makes sense. It resonates because, like I said, I've never had to take out a loan. I have actually done what you talked about at first, which is I've had really good family and friends to invest. I
yeah,
mean, friends that have invested thousands
yeah.
into my vision. I mean, that is, it's just amazing to have that type of support.
Yeah.
And like you said, but though I think a lot of people, if you don't have, like you said, the personal assets to um, put up as collateral. I remember my grandfather, and of course this was years ago. He was going to open a hamburger stand, and he said he went to the bank, and they approved him for $50,000. And at that time, that was a lot of money. He said it scared him that they would offer him that much money, so he didn't take the loan. He never opened up the hamburger place. And I think, but then my grandfather was a really stable man with, a few assets. And so, he had things that he could leverage as collateral. But even I think, what I hear you saying is, even today, even if you have personal collateral, and this is just Cecilia and Dorian talking,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That it is, and maybe people don't know that that's why they're being denied for these loans. It is so much better for you to be in business, get your footing. It doesn't matter how much revenue you make. It doesn't matter if you're making millions or if you're making thousands, as long as it's steady revenue after a couple of years when you've worked out the kinks.
Yeah.
Then come to the bank with your business plan, show them your track record, and you really would be surprised at what you get.
Yeah, and in that track record, you want to make sure that it's not a major risk for the bank to make this investment. I mean, you want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to make a case where you can tell the bank, hey, this is a safe investment, low risk. You want to make sure that you present a case where you are at a low to medium risk level. But you can't do that if you don't have any capital, any equity. You just starting
Mm-hmm.
off. I think, um, in my opinion, on a personal note, I believe, we run to things that we believe we've heard other people do that are successful. And it doesn't always translate to the full story of that individual. So yeah, you heard
Mm-hmm.
somebody go to the bank gave them this loan,
Mm-hmm.
and they got their business going and it's great. And then you go to the bank and then you get denied. You're trying to figure out why. Well, you don't know the whole story of what that other person went through. And oftentimes the other person really didn't tell you every single thing that
Right.
they needed. You know what I'm saying? For them to get that money, and so and then times have changed as well, and
True.
so we have organizations that are like Div Inc. here in Houston that are fantastic with taking women entrepreneurs and founders through programs to assist them with getting grants to get their business going, to support them with small dollar loans, um, to help them scale and grow. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, you know, it just goes back to, again, knowing the small business development supports in your market
Mm-hmm.
and going online and researching small business development supports, accelerated programs, free accelerated programs, entrepreneur programs, because community colleges offer great entrepreneur programs as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's taking the due diligence of those things versus, man, I got a great idea, let me go to the bank and
Right.
the bank go give me some money. Then the bank don't give you no money. And then you're like, oh man, the bank ain't give me no money. And then you're looking like, well, I ain't gonna do nothing then. And it's like, what?
Right.
Like,
Right. And it's
well, you didn't even, what?
right. And then it's the flip side too. What if the bank says, yes, we'll give you $300,000, and you, like my grandfather, you're like, wait a minute, what am I gonna do with with all of that?
Yeah.
So you still have to have, like you said, a good plan. And it's good to have your feet wet. I love that you said that, because not a lot of people are giving that advice, that you really need to have been in business for a couple of years, work out the kinks, then take your plan and go to the bank, and they can see gauge your financial health
Yeah.
and what you are capable of handling so that you don't run your business into more debt trying to pay back the line of credit.
That's perfect. I mean, would you, you know, if you got your baby, and you got a babysitter that come up to you, and babysitter, 15 years old, and first time ever
Right.
watching a child in life, you
Right.
know what I'm saying, and you not related to this person either. Are
Hmm.
you really gonna be like, you know what? I'm finna give you my child.
Right. My
You don't have
newborn.
no experience. You can't tell me, what's gonna happen, what's going on. Like, it's just kind of like take it, that personal, like your
Hmm.
business should be your baby, you know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
you want to grow, your baby, you want to grow your business so you can get them prepared for that next level. And so, looking at small business and creating that wealth through entrepreneurship, you got to grow it, and you got to figure out, where you can go get the essentials at every stage, whether it's, infant, toddler, small
That's
child,
good.
teenage, young adult, you know what I'm saying, and full grown adult, because there's some folks out there got full grown adult businesses that come
That's
to the
true.
bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying they
Yeah.
got full grown
Yeah.
business, you know, coming to the bank. They're not coming to the bank with no infant business,
Right.
grown up talk when they come through that door. You know what I'm saying? And so I think people should, look at it in phases when they're looking at entrepreneurship, growing their
Hmm.
business to the next level till you get to a middle market or, you know, um, higher level.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Now, I want to shift a little bit into some more of your sort of personal development. When you were workforce operations manager for the Houston-Galveston Area Council, it serves and covers a 13 county region. That's a massive role at any age, and few people can handle that at any age.
Yeah.
What particular skills? Because I'm not even sure you were 40 then, but you were
38.
maybe, huh, not yet.
No, I was 38.
38. I can't even. Okay.
Yeah.
38 years old, operations manager for this massive, massive system. What particular skills would you say was essential to your ability to lead at that age?
Knowing that the little things are more important than the big stuff, you
Mm.
know. The little things could bring down your whole entire system. If somebody not getting their child care payment on time, if somebody can't get their training dollars so they can start school, if parents are walking around talking about, hey, I need my income supports, and you're not coordinating the right processes,
Mm.
or looking at the details of really what you could do to improve a person's life, then you're gonna miss the bigger picture, right? And
Mm.
so I think my approach was always, and this just stems from my grandmother. She used to say, "It's the little things, baby." You know,
Mm.
it's always the little things, you know what I'm saying? And so in taking that philosophy and applying it to comprehensive thinking.
Mhm.
So, when I'm in my comprehensive thinking mode, I get down into the details. And so for me, being 38 years old,
Mm.
um, a Black man in this role, youngest, in this role, first Black man in
Yes.
this role, to oversee a 13 county Gulf Coast region, over 7 million people, more than, 12,000, square miles, almost a $400 million budget. I did it during the pandemic. And so, I was the operations manager to be the voice of our system, to help individuals within the system that were facing losses, in their own families.
Mm-hmm.
We face, losses, with our colleagues and coworkers. And then on top of that, we had the pressure of the entire region filing for unemployment insurance, and other supports and benefits at the same time. And so trying to be a positive voice, at the same time coordinating different services to get people what they needed. It took a lot of attention to detail. Again, it just goes back to, I think, when you are older, you can see how important the little things are in life. If you get that early when you're younger, your leadership will be far more ahead than what your peers would be if you can get that at a younger age. And so I was blessed to be able to get that at a younger age. And so I was fortunate to, be able to surround myself with a great team so we can get through the pandemic and the murder of George Floyd and everything else that took us out in 2020.
Yeah, 2020 was one for the books, I can tell you that much. So I hear you saying, as a leader of whether a massive system in no matter what capacity, the details matter. But I also hear you talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I guess it never changes, where you take care of a person's personal needs before you, or at least address them, like you said, make sure they have the resources to meet their personal needs before you make other types of demands. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. And that is absolutely correct. And patience in leadership. I think we always rush into, get to the conclusion or get to the outcome. How can we get this done? And, what do we need to do? And I've seen a lot of leaders come in and it's just like, firing squad, like boom, 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 boom. And when you lead in something large, you have to have patience. Like this thing will flow. Big ships turn slow. So you cannot be a leader of a massive ship and think it's just going to turn quickly. And so you have to have the patience to go through all the processes. You have the patience to make sure that, people are aligned. You got to make sure all systems are go. And again, these are some things that you don't have at, a mid 30, late 30-year-old age, right? Because you usually just like, I'm going get it, I'm running, and I'm moving, I'm shaking.
That's true.
For some reason, I don't know why, I was real slow.
For a track runner, huh?
Yeah, I was just real slow. I was just very thoughtful about,
And intentional.
details and intentional about it, and having the patience to be able to see it through. I think a lot of people quit something because they don't have the patience to go through those moments where they have to grow. So I just had the patience to just grow through and grow into the position.
Well, let me ask you, you're a VP now, of a blue chip or corporation. You have had massive leadership roles, again, all before 40. You're just crossing a finish line of 40. Do you find that you have the respect of your constituents? Does it come naturally, or do you find at times you have to kind of demand it?
I mean, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
Respect is earned, and I think because of, I had a woman years ago tell me, she was like, baby, it's because of your maturity level, that you're getting all this favor. And I really didn't understand that at the time. But now I do. I was at least acting mature at work. Now when I got home, I was me. When I got to work, I put my maturity game on. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, and I think that gives people the desire to respect you. when you mature and when you hold yourself in maturity. And when you respect them and you go about your business and they see you serious going about your business, but that also comes with maturity. And so I think if any listener, young, that's trying to come up and saying, hey, what do I need to do so people can see me? I would say to them, look at your maturity level, in professional places. Are you keeping it classic? Like, I'm a classic cat, what I'm saying? I keep it classic. So I'll wear my shirt, I'll wear my tie, I'll wear the suit.
Suited and
I had a
booted.
shoes on, I for real, I keep my facial hair, groomed. I keep myself, just in a position to where when I walk in the room, I'm confident.
Right.
I'm confident, and so I think that has to do with, the maturity of me saying to myself, hey, this is the man that I want to represent. This is the Black man that I am. And I hope, other people see it and respect it. And I believe my coworkers do at all levels within my company.
I know for certain you're very well respected in the Houston area. I mean, you already have a reputation that precedes you no matter where you go. And I want to know though, I've been trying to avoid asking this question, but it's just really burning inside of me because I hear you talking about your mom, your aunt, your grandmother. What about your father, if you don't mind me asking? I know that's a shift,
Yeah.
but I'm so curious because I have a I don't want to say I have daddy issues. Thank God for my heavenly Father,
Amen.
who has filled every void. But part of my story with my father, and I'm just curious how much harder it is for an African American man. Uh, to who were your mentors? Because I don't hear other than those wonderful, stellar women in your life.
I tell you, Black women can raise a strong Black man. And yes, my mom, I saw her work 2 jobs. I had to stay with my grandma at times. I had to stay with my auntie at times. I stayed with neighbors and friends, like I said earlier. I had coaches that I respected highly. My mother is old school in the sense where she dropped me off at the barbershop so I could just be around grown Black men all day,
Wow.
Regardless of the conversations we was having.
Right. Because there was some stuff talked about in the book.
But it was still the essence of being a Black man. Like, yeah, I know I'm dropping you off at this barbershop and ain't no telling what they saying up in here, but the essence for me, it was the essence of seeing style, seeing Black man style, seeing brothers come through getting their haircut, seeing brothers fly, hearing conversations about, what businesses they are running, what things that they are doing, brothers that's owning their own barbershops, just really understanding that, as Black man, do, set a certain standard. When you come into a room, there is a certain expectation, for you when you walk into a room. Understanding how to deal with, law enforcement. I learned those, skills and conversations in barbershops.
Yeah.
And so, my family was able to surround me at a young age with, brothers that had good intentions, teaching me. And then honestly, as I got older, a lot of white men mentored me, and I was able to get, both sides of the coin.
Oh gosh,
Had
yeah.
a white guy, and I know I'm getting a little personal right now, but he asked me a question about the young lady I was, dating at the time, and he asked me how was her relationship with her father. I was like, damn, I ain't never in my life have
Wow.
anybody ask me about that,
Hmm.
like how was her relationship with her father. And so, there were certain lessons
It
on
makes a
both
difference.
sides, um, that really helped me um,
Hmm.
round out the type of man that I wanted to be.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you've had the spice of life. That's what I hear. You've had the spice of life, and that's a good thing too. And like you said, when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to having those voices of wisdom, the color doesn't matter.
Right.
Because Lord knows when I was younger, Roy Knight, if any of my older folks are listening from back in the day, this man was my hero, and he was a white guy who worked at my school. And every turn, every time I got in trouble, he was there.
Yeah.
Sergeant Roy Knight. And he was a surrogate in many ways. And I found, in hindsight, there's been many surrogates along the way.
Yeah.
Again, part of the village people. So that's amazing. And that's good to know. So let me ask you, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? You think you'll ever run for office? You're certainly poised to do so. Or do you think that you will stay in Texas? Do you think you'll be in a different state?
I definitely don't believe I could run for office because I probably get kicked out, you know,
Come on.
first day, because, and I jokingly, say that because I like to change the rules,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to change the rules with intention to help people. My special interests are the people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for me, being a politician would be something that would be challenging. I don't know how many statesmen, are left, or you could even be one in this political climate. So for me,
Well,
um,
that's you
I,
change. That's you making the change
yeah,
because
but I probably get
politicians
canceled.
are
But
supposed to be for the people.
yeah, somebody would cancel me though, because I wouldn't say anything at all offensive, derogatory, or demeaning. Um, it would be all, for
You mean it would be
encouragement.
civil?
But yeah, yeah, yeah. It would be for encouragement, which ironically, I say these things and I'm really telling you I would be saying something for encouragement and it would be for the people. But then we look at today's politics and I'm not gonna go there, but
Mm-hmm.
it is not um in any way civil as far as
It
having a
isn't.
conversation about ideas anymore. And so
Yeah.
since those days are gone and I don't really deal with the you know you this you that conversation, I don't think that would be a path that I would go on. What I am thinking about as far as next steps, for me is how can I improve opportunities to share what I've learned to other Black men, other people, Black,
Mm-hmm.
white, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, um, to help them understand that again, um, just because you come from a hard working family, with humble beginnings, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look like at all, you're going to get to, a place of prosperity. You can get there, and I think that'll be the message that I would want to share for everybody. I'm a kid, single parent, household, raised by the village, struggled through high school, all kind of, ins and outs with, alcohol, dipping and dabbing in different recreations. And,
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to even close, to be where I am
Mm-hmm.
today, and to see where I am today. For me, I'm like, oh well, shoot, if I can make it,
Right.
if I had made it here, what I'm saying. So I'm like, well, let me see what the next 10, gonna be, and let me see
Oh
what the next
my.
20, is going to bring, and so I would just hope and aspire people to remain faithful in what they want to accomplish.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, you're the one to watch. And we are going to be keeping a close eye on you. I'm going to be following your career path. because it, like you said, if you're here at 40, my gosh, I can't imagine where you're going to be in really 3 years. I'm saying three, but oh man, we're going to have to follow your path and your story. And you should consider at any opportunity that you can. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you to speak to more young men, I'll make sure that they get connected
Yeah,
because
please do.
they need to hear your story. They
Men
need,
and women, men and
yes,
women.
men
Yeah.
and women. That's correct. That's correct. He's single, ladies. So hey,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
taking
I,
are you taking applications?
I am. I have one application going right now.
Okay.
But you never know. You never know. You never know.
All right, we're gonna wish her luck. We hope she
Yeah,
gets the
no doubt.
job. We hope she
Yeah,
gets the
she's good.
job. But
Yeah,
thank you again, Dorian, so very much. And we really do want to have you back just to really talk. If you just want to have a heart to heart and maybe some call ins so that young men and women who are not where they want to be in life and don't see their future very well, if they can know your story, and like you said, if you are here from where you've come from, it doesn't matter. You just have to have the will and the desire. You
yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
So
Only thing I would say is, be the storm.
be the storm.
Be the storm. Be the
That's
storm. Don't worry about the storm. Be the storm. So,
I know that's right. I love it. Well, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you again, Dorian, for joining me.
my pleasure.
And as always, thank you guys for being a team player.